future of AI and cloud. Well, artificial intelligence and cloud computing have merged to improve the lives of millions. Digital assistants today blend AI and cloud computing in our lives every day. On a larger scale, AI capabilities are working in the business cloud computing environment to make organizations more efficient, strategic, and insight-driven. This session, ladies and gentlemen, explores some of the most important and promising applications of AI and cloud duo. Well, right now for the AI Cloud panel discussion on unlocking the potential of AI in the cloud, we're looking at reimagined IT structure with AI-powered cloud platforms, effective synthesis of data systems, unhindered data transfer between on-site and cloud IT environments, precise analysis of business-critical data to generate more meaningful and valuable information, facilitate a hands-on response towards fortifying the security of business systems, AI, SaaS integration for improved CX, which is AI SaaS. So for the panelists, ladies and gentlemen, we've got with us Abhishek Singh, Chief Analytics Officer, Lendingkart. Well, Abhishek has over 19 years of experience in consulting and retail financial services. He's worked across multiple geographies, including Southeast Asia, India, Australia, Africa, and Middle East. With extensive experience across data to decision journey, Abhishek aims to integrate data and analytics into decision-making DNA of Lendingkart. We're also joined by Sreeram, AK, VP IT, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Well, Sreeram oversees multiple functions such as the management of data-centric initiatives comprising enterprise data work, warehouse, big data, and data governance, digital initiatives aimed at acquiring new customers, transformational programs like robotic process automation, and customer relationship management platforms such as operational CRM and analytical CRM. We're also joined by Khushru, the Chief Information Officer and Senior Vice President, Eureka Forbes. Well, in his current role as the CIO and Senior VP for Eureka Forbes, Khushru is spearheading the digital transformation of the company and is responsible for injecting cloud-based technologies with machine learning and AI technologies to enable businesses to enhance their end, provide a seamless omni-channel experience. And this entire panel discussion is going to be moderated by Dr. Ankur Narang, VP AI and Data Technology, Hike Messenger. Well, Dr. Ankur Narang has 26 years of experience in senior technology leadership positions. He currently leads the AI division at Hike as a Vice President AI and Data Technologies, where he leads state-of-the-art research and development projects on NLP, chatbots, computer vision, speech recognitions, and related AI ML areas. He was also amongst the top 10 data scientists in India in 2017. So thank you so much to our eminent panel for joining us and taking out your valued time. I'd now like to request our moderator, Mr. Narang, to take it forward from here.
Thank you, Bhavana, for esteemed panelists. Welcome again. So I would like to start with the panelists introducing their roles, what activities they are engaged in on a day-to-day basis and from a strategy perspective. So starting with Abhishek.
Sure, thanks, Ankur. So I head analytics or decision sciences for Lendingkart. Been in the role for about 9 years. As Bhavana mentioned, I have a total experience of close to 20 years now. I am overall involved with the entire strategy for data services for India or Lendingkart. I see data science as a supporting pillar, which facilitates the entire decision making of the company. And I believe that the only driver of analytics initiatives should be impact, and the impact could either be on the P&L or the balance sheet. That's the vision with which I drive data sciences.
Going over to.
Thank you, Ankur. I am the Chief Information Officer and also the Senior Vice President for Eureka Forbes. Eureka Forbes, I'm pretty sure I don't need to introduce the company, but we are into water purification business at the home side of it, also in the B2B side of it, vacuum cleaning, and also are just about to launch our new product, which is called the Corona Guard, for prevention, not care. So we are into the health and hygiene business, and my main role in this company is basically to ensure that lead the company through a transition period to ensure that the newer age technology is embedded. And in order to emphasize on that, I also represent the company on the board itself. So IT is part of the entire ecosystem of all the businesses, and basically to interface with all the businesses and ensure that not only the businesses meet the requirements, but also our customers get an omni-channel experience through whichever channel which we sell and to service our products across the company and across the world.
Thanks, Khushru. We'll go to Sreeram.
Thank you, Ankur. Hi, I'm Sreeram. I'm from Mahindra Bank. I'm an Executive Vice President in the IT Applications Division of. I could probably them into three. One, all data-centric initiatives, which comprise of enterprise-wide data warehouse, which cuts across all the business units of the bank. Second is all big data-related initiatives. When I say big data, we have on-premise as well as on cloud. Third is data governance, because that's something that we see as something very, very important, critical coming up with the exponential growth of data all across, right? So that's my first one. Secondly, I'm responsible for digital initiatives centered around customer acquisition. So I actually mean, onboarding of new customers, retail customers, and lead management and activities, around that, and transformational initiatives like robotics. So where we have a huge pipeline in terms of what we've done in robotics and a pipeline roadmap drawn up. Thirdly, I'm also responsible for all customer relationship management initiatives, which means operational CRM as well as analytical CRM. And by analytical CRM, I'm more specifically referring to multi-channel campaign management kind of initiatives, which is used for cross-sell and upsell initiatives, and as well as for service activations and all such initiatives. So that broadly is my portfolio. Overall, about 23 years of experience, which have been with Kotak for the last 13 years. So that's a brief intro about myself.
Cool. Thank you, Sreeram. Let me give some intro about my role at Hike. So at Hike, I essentially lead the AI and ML strategy. Here we have, how do you add essential fundamental value to the core social experience for the customers, primarily in the B2C space. So we do interesting projects along NLP, multilingual modeling across 8 to 9 languages on Hike, and essentially how that powers the sticker recommendation platform that we have, which is now being used across millions of users for more than a couple of years. In addition, we have interesting computer vision based algorithms to enable personalized these, and how to enable essentially ads of these personalized Hikemojis, which essentially become the core of the self-worth of the person on the essential virtual world or Hikeland that was released few months back this year. So in addition to that, basically we also work on improving the data infra within the company, essentially in the sense of how to automate data pipelines in an interesting way, how to use AI for infrastructure optimizations, essentially how to enable very easy natural language query-based access to the data for everyone in the company, whichever vertical the person belongs to, whether it is even marketing, finance, or any essential vertical in the company. So these are some of the functions that we do across both the AI space, consumer application perspective, and also the data infra perspective. So let's go to the next round of questions. Here, essentially, we will look at how AI enables AI with SaaS integration. Essentially, is the customer experience, and would like to start with Khushru on his experience in this space and what are his thoughts and feedback.
Thank you, Ankur. being in the water purification business, one of the most important things which we do right now is that we have information across 99% of the pin codes in the country. So we know the quality of water. And to almost every building basis in this country, we know the quality of water. Now we utilize that data. Now that data is a significant power. So when our people actually go to sell a unit, they would not know what is the quality or the ingredients of the water which is provided. Because in India, you can get municipal water, you can get lake water, river water, or even tanker water, potable water. So in order to identify it, we have this huge database of very relevant information. So we utilize artificial intelligence with a front-end SaaS-based model, which is a mobile app. And when a person actually, and utilizing GPS technology, if the person basically is going into somebody's house to sell, we are able to identify the quality of water in that person's house, more or less within the building perspective. And we utilize this information to nudge, small interventions on the mobile to provide a better customer experience, because if our people are able to tell the customer that this is the quality of water he is getting in their house, this provides the emphasis to do the right selling of the right product to the customer. And that's how we are utilizing an artificial intelligence-based platform with a front-end mobile app, which is a SaaS model, and it actually acts like a virtual agent for a selling person to sell the right product to the customer. And this gives a lot of credence to the fact that the customer is getting the right product. That's one of the examples, and that's how we utilize AI and SaaS together.
Excellent. Thanks, Khushru. Over to Sreeram on your experience of AI and SaaS.
Yeah. So the AI SaaS combination, you typically helps you, engagements with the customer, right? If you were to look at any customer engagement, say to a chatbot, right? That it kicks in there, or any customer service where at the back end is served by a robotics platform, it kind of kicks in there. And plus all the predictive models that run behind the scenes help you kind of personalize all your interactions, be it in terms of an offer or, a service or a cross-sell or a service activation. That's where it kicks in. As far as the end customer is concerned. Okay. Additionally, I would also put the organization as a customer when you're engaging with the SaaS service provider, right? Because one is your actual end customer, and second is the organization which is engaging with the SaaS customer. Now, if you look at it from an organization interacting with the SaaS service provider also with AI capabilities, it actually gives you a couple of benefits. One, each stakeholder gets to actually deliver as per what is his forte, right? In terms of the platform capability or the ML capabilities, that's something that the SaaS provider gets to work on, while the business or the techno-functional or the IT guys get to focus on what is their forte. Second, it also gives you an opportunity where the accountability is more, okay? Where you can actually move from a project implementation or a T&M kind of basis of implementation to an outcome-based model, where obviously then the accountability of the SaaS service provider is also much more, because he has to stick his neck out and ensure that the overall objective is met and the project is successful, right? So those are the areas I think where the SaaS AI combination really works well.
Excellent. Thanks. How about Abhishek?
Hey, so Ankur, we at Lendingkart disburse, working capital loans only to micro SMEs, which is the most underserved segment in the country today. Right? What we have done is, over the last 5 years, our entire decisioning is based on a machine learning model, which is hosted in the cloud. 90% of our decisioning is actually automated with absolutely no human intervention. Comprises of data source from bank statements, from bureau, from the application itself. So it's a very large algorithm which works. It's an instant decisioning platform Now, what that translates into from a customer experience is that you're talking about instant decisioning with the promise of money hitting your account in 24 hours or in under 24 hours, and that too for the most underserved segment of the market, which is the MSME customer. And that's the promise which we have been delivering on for a very long time. And that's how we are bringing the entire SaaS AI interaction together.
Excellent. Thanks, Abhishek. That looks very interesting. Now, at Hike, essentially, as I mentioned, we have put out two SaaS and AI kind of combination-based services. Essentially, one of them is in the space of natural language processing and understanding, and essentially using that for a sticker recommendation. Essentially, it's a way to enhance the experience of the customers while platform. So as friends interact pair-wise or as a group within on the platform, then essentially as they want to have more expressive ways of exchanging, while they are typing in the context of the prior messages, they would like to have more expressive visual experience of the message exchange or the idea exchange or thought exchange. And that's where the stickers come in. Now, given that we have around 40,000 to 60,000 various types of stickers across various languages, contexts, events, and so forth, and even movies and so forth. Essentially, for the user, it is extremely hard to be able to discover that at runtime. So essentially, you have to predict what is there in the user's mind when he's trying to type a particular message or he thinks of that sticker. So the whole sticker recommendation essentially is based on that. It's essentially powered through machine learning models running on the mobile and also on the server in the cloud. SaaS comes into the picture, and within a few milliseconds, the particular recommendation of the sticker is enabled by a combination of both these algorithms running essentially in a hybrid mode at the server and the mobile, and we are able to recommend pretty close to what the person is trying to say in the context of the message. So this gets personalized again by the kind of stickers the person typically likes to send across to the friends, to a particular friend, whether it's male or female, whether it is a context of a particular event, of an IPL match, and so forth. So all this personalization of stickers essentially all goes behind the scenes as well. And this is all powered by a batch mode analytics or an AI deep learning engine that runs across parallel GPUs and CPUs in the cloud platform, primarily GCP, where the underlying semantics of the messages is inferred, the cross correlations and the clustering of the messages across embedding that is computed using deep learning models, the state-of-the-art models using transformers, sequential to sequential models, and so forth. And this essentially powers the whole system. The whole stuff has been essentially patented and has got IAAI Application Deployment Award as well in 2020 at the prestigious AAAI conference this year in New York. Another thing that we developed essentially is the personalized Hikemoji application, which is again powered by SaaS, where essentially in the cloud, once a particular image of a person is taken by the user, right? His selfie, basically the complete, typically a frontal pose of the person, that goes to the cloud, where it is checked across hundreds of combinations of the various types of a combination of eyes, of the ears, the lips, the eyebrows, and so forth, and the hairstyles and beards for where the final combination is kind of decided by the set of AI algorithms working in parallel in the cloud, again using GPU and CPU based inference. And the idea here is to generate a personalized Hikemoji that is very similar to the person's actual facial structure or facial component structure. This work was pretty much done within a span of a quarter, where this was all enabled, and we got very encouraging early results. And that was basically end of last year. And this year, that was the beta release in mid-November last year. This year, within mid-February, we actually had a proper kind of production release. And now we have around 5 to 7 million Hikemojis created across more than 1 million users. And they are basically have become the fundamental network person on the platform, and helps kind of in improving the engagement metrics of the person on the platform in the platform, and now the pipeline which has been recently kind of released a few months back. So these are two kind of examples of AI-powered SaaS services which have fundamentally improved the quality of experience of the users in the high context specifically. Okay, so we will move on to the next topic. That's we'll kind of discuss on experiences and thoughts on security area. Essentially, how AI has enabled security of the business systems in the cloud and overall as such. So we'll start with Sreeram and get your opinion, Sreeram.
Okay, sure. So AI-powered security, security operations is one key area where I think AI-powered solution works great. By that, what I mean is conventionally, your security operations have been revolving around signature-based identification, right? Now we are kind of moving beyond that and moving into voluminous logs and identifying a pattern and then identifying whether there is any lateral movement within the network and so on and so forth to be able to prevent any suspicious behavior, right? Now the complexity is actually compounded when you look at the components involved, right? Or the number of components involved. While we look at it from a business systems perspective, but behind the scenes, there are so many elements like network, firewall, Active Directory, VPN, proxy, you name it, it is there, right? All of them actually have to work seamlessly together with security in place to ensure that business BAU continues as usual, right? So that's one area where the AI-powered security operations is going to be a key area. Okay. Secondly, vulnerability management, right? So for us, any application before it gets into production has to undergo VACA, which is vulnerability assessment and configuration audit, right? Now, and that's a absolute must, non-negotiable. Okay. So that is one area where AI-powered solutions really help in terms of early identification and performance analytics and what is the mean time taken to remediate, right? Now, of course, having said that, this can't work in a silo because you still have to have underlying solutions like a workflow capability to ensure that, it actually goes through whichever stakeholders to ensure that it is actually closed, right? And security signed off. So those are broadly the two areas where I think, AI-powered, security angle is kind of, of paramount importance.
Cool. Thank you, Sreeram. Khushru, how about your experiences with AI for security?
Artificial intelligence in security is going to be the new norm going forward because effectively, let's understand the fact that within the COVID situation, which has just come in from, I would say, from the lockdown till now, the cybersecurity issues have gone through the roof. And if I'm not mistaken, at last count it was at 600%. So the only way that we are going to be able to protect our environments, protect the government, protect our offices, protect ourselves against the cybersecurity issues and cybersecurity threats is utilizing AI engines in order to do that. And I think from a very, very in-depth perspective of the fact that with my kind of background with the banking and financial institutions, AI is going to revolutionize the way we do security and cybersecurity. It is already interjecting in the sense that there is a huge amount of data, and as Sreeram indicated, there are networks involved, there are desktops involved, there's internal security, there's external security, which has to be maintained. All that voluminous data which comes in and what is considered to be false positives and false negatives. Just the articulation of that utilizing AI-based engines is going to predict the way we work in the future. So a lot of people say that if you protect yourself at the periphery, you're secure. The answer is definitely not. You have to protect yourself from internal also. Because the weakest link in the chain is the person who's utilizing the equipment within the office or within the institution. And AI is already playing a significant part in that in order to ensure that the kind of accesses which people have, okay, and the kind of accesses which you need to provide needs to be demonstrated at the right level at the right time. And only way to do that is to utilize things like AI and also machine learning in order to do that. And that's what the technology is moving towards. And the faster we adopt it, the better we will be in this world.
Thanks. So that was pretty insightful. Abhishek, how about your thoughts?
So I think I look at it in two ways. One is AI bolstering the security of the enterprise itself, and where both my colleagues have talked about anomaly detections, pattern recognitions, sensitive information exposure, etc. And I think those are parts which almost every organization is looking at to ensure that an AI-based secure system could help us. I think I would also want to talk about a larger initiative which India is getting into, which is account aggregator as a framework. And what it is doing is it is bringing uh, all the financial services players onto one platform, where you're talking about customers to lenders to providers of data like bureaus as well as banks, as well as analytical players onto the same platform. And therefore, there is a very large amount of data flow which a customer is going to initiate for taking a loan from or taking a financial instrument from a lender, and that is then going to have data moving from banks in the form of bank statements to bureaus giving out customer sensitive information to third party providers which are lenders, right? And there are analytical players in the midst who are creating all sorts of machine learning algorithms to correctly assess this data and then pass it on to the lender. Now, there is data in transit, there is data at rest, and all of that will have to be encrypted because nobody should be able to read it in transit. And therefore, I think their blockchain, AI, all of that is going to play a very major role. To my mind, that's the future of financial services in India, and AI is playing a very central role.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was pretty insightful. From the perspective that we see at Hike, definitely looking at the cloud security, cyber security rather, is definitely an important area where multiple vendors help us. Inside, within, as we look at the user behavior, we observe at times when we have promo runs and so forth, the fraud activity increases quite a bit with cloning of SIMs, IMEIs, and so forth. AI comes into action, and for us to make sure that it doesn't lead for us to kind of leakages in the costs and final impact on the overall UX of the normal customers and the overall impact of the features that we are releasing, both in terms of impact and the engagement impact. So the fraudulent activity identification bases the behavioral pattern analysis of these users using a combination of both the heuristics and proper anomaly detection deep learning based algorithms becomes very critical for us. So that is one interesting area where AI plays pretty solid impact on the overall business and the cybersecurity parts. So that's great. Let's move on to the next topic. We will basically go over how AI powered analytics pipelines are being used across various kind of verticals. Since we have a diverse range of verticals over here, panelists, so we can go over that. We'll start with Abhishek this time.
Yeah, so I think Ankur had talked about this in the beginning. For us, onboarding a customer, creditworthiness checks, etc., become the baseline for our evaluation of customers and whom we need to give what amount of loan to. That entirely is completely driven by a SaaS AI integration for us. As I told you, there's a machine learning model which has been running for the last 5 years, which is giving us the right portfolio quality. I think over and above that, what we have done is we are moving into an area where we are creating a zero touch environment for the customer. So, from the time a customer comes onto our platform or through a partner, to the time that a loan is disbursed, we want to create a complete zero touch environment for them. For that to happen, there is a whole lot of analytics pipeline, process analytics, figuring out which are my bottlenecks, which kind of customers need to be green channeled, which kind of customers need to flow into an exception flow management, etc. All of that is completely driven by AI and a SaaS integration tool. And that's what we are working on. We are in the process of going live with it. And I think the fruit of the labor will be visible to us in the next few months. And we are keeping our fingers crossed and actively looking for it.
Cool. Thanks, Abhishek. That's a pretty solid vision and to be happening in that area. Next, we'll go to Khushru, your experiences and thoughts on this particular topic.
Data analytics is no longer a buzzword anymore. Okay, it is a necessity of every organization which needs to prosper in the future. And today, to a large extent, people do say that the business is your technology and technology is your business. And the only way this is going to happen is that if you ensure that the data which you collect of your customer is then managed and provided back into the company and the organization and to provide a better experience to the customer. So from our perspective, when we look at it, we have over 2 crore customer base in this country. Okay, right from the time the unit is sold to the time it's serviced and the time it's replaced. So rather than saying the loyalty of the customer, we try and create something called the lifetime value of the customer. And in order to do that, our data analytics engines basically provide the complete experience within the framework of the data which we collect. And that's the time when we try and elicit from that the information which is required in order to not understand how our customers are operating, but also how can we provide a better value to our customers. Now so that's one part of it. The second part is also we work with business partners and franchisees. So how do we provide our equipment? How does the supply chain work? How can it become better? How can our sales and operational planning better? Okay, all of this is run on central data analytics engines. And to a large extent, yes, we have not gone into the predictable mode right now, but I think the technology is sufficiently powerful enough today into a more predictive methodology so that we are able to not only service our customers better, but also our internal people, which is our business partners and franchisees. And I believe that's where the crux of the matter lies. And if we do this correctly, or if organizations do this correctly, a lifetime value of your customer or your business partners will be created, and that's the future.
That's that. Sreeram, your views and thoughts?
Yeah. So our approach basically has been, one, we started with establishing the capability on cloud. Okay. When I say capability on cloud, obviously that is not the matter in question. So typically we have a big on-premise deployment, right? Being a bank. Now getting integration to work partly on-premise and partly on cloud. So that is where we kind of establish the capability first, right? In terms of is a use case going to be a real time, or is it a near real time, or is it a batch, right? You test waters first, okay, and then one or two use cases establish capability, and then you obviously have a plethora of use cases in the pipeline where you're always racing against time to get it live, right? So that's been our approach. And from a breadth perspective, it is typically around fraud identification, prevention, what is the next best offer that we can give, or even credit decisioning. So that is the kind of breadth we are looking at for initiatives where we are using the ML capabilities on the cloud. Okay, now some of them would be powered by ML, but not all data lake use cases necessarily need to be powered by ML. So we actually have a mix of both. Apart from having something on premise as well.
Cool. Thanks, Sreeram. At Hike, essentially, data analytics, pipelines are kind of automated on the GCP platform, and we have around a terabyte of data that flows in, which kind of captures the, behaviors of, millions of users on the platform on a daily basis. All their kind of activities on the device and from the user are kind of taken back onto basically the central server through Kafka pipelines. And there essentially the crunching of the data happens to identify and to feed the use cases in terms of basically building the deep learning models for the various languages across the languages in a multilingual space, then looking at fraud behavioral patterns. It also kind of builds across the various statistics that we want to analyze for the performance and the engagement metrics and the business metrics for the company. And this basically gets powered through a natural language voice and text-based query tool, which is internal to the company, which we built in-house in the last few months. And that essentially helps anyone in the company to be able to ask all the different tricks that are relevant to their vertical and to the company overall as such as well. So it's and then also from the visual data perspective, we get lots of visual data as well that we capture and that we use to infer some interesting stuff about the gender of the person, the age of the person, and certain particular aspects which essentially help us to serve the customer better. So these are some of the AI powered pipelines which are able to leverage this huge amount of data volumes. Okay, excellent. That basically takes us to the the open house. So we throw the kind of open to questions to all of our esteemed panelists. So if there are any questions from the audience, welcome to ask any of our panels in particular.
Sure. Mr. Narang, currently there aren't any audience questions, but that just shows the fact that whatever you've been asking is what exactly they would be resounding with. But Mr. Narang, since we still have a couple more minutes in hand, I'd love to have you direct the concluding remarks from your esteemed panel today.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Bhavna. So essentially, I guess this is a pretty interesting session that we had. And we shared experiences across all the different verticals from the lending space, Lendingkart, and the vision that Abhishek shared essentially across the kind of deep and wide system that would address the challenges and large amount of data integration and so many players that would come together to enable a seamless lending experience, specifically to the MSME sector that Abhishek and team and the company are making towards. And then towards how Khushru essentially mentioned the deep impact that he is leading in Eureka Forbes across tens of millions of customers in all the different geographies within India, and how they're impacting all the different through the life cycle of the journey and overall impacting and improving the lifetime value of the customer. And then Sreeram as well on his experience in leading the various multiple functions that he leads at Kotak Mahindra, and how he's able to manage all these different aspects of analytics applications to the stuff. And finally, I would like to add from my own perspective at Hike, how we are able to kind of bring interesting social experience with an emotional and empathetic kind of an exchange across the users, where we are able to leverage AI deep learning pipelines and large-scale data, terabytes of data flowing into our platform on a per daily basis across millions of customers with AI on text, vision, video, and actual structured data and semi-structured data as well. So
sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Narang. I just request also our esteemed panelists as well, if you could give your concluding remarks as well. If you've got anything more to say, I'd love to hear that. Mr. Sreeram, starting with you, sir, if you could take it over. Your final concluding remarks, please.
Yeah, I think it was a very, very, encouraging discussion to get a perspective of, how other industry players are kind of approaching this. So you know, while we are on the panel, but it's also a learning experience just hearing, you know, how other industry vertical people are approaching it and what has been their experience, how they are leveraging it, you know, how they are planning to take it to the next level. Absolutely very informative.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sreeram. Mr. Mistry, if we could request you to please come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavana. The fact of the matter is that understanding how this country has adapted in a pandemic and how companies have reoriented themselves, specifically on the forefront of enhancing digital transformations. Something which would be a 3-year plan has been done in 3 months. And how the Indian companies and the Indian economy has basically adopted the way of digital transformation, specifically from the digital payment cycle perspective, is quite amazing. And it's great to hear panelists talk about such things, about how being a necessity has become the mother of all inventions, and that's proved itself very well. So I think it's excellent to hear people talking about this, and it does give the emphasis to this country that this country is moving in the right direction, along with the companies.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Mistry. I just request Abhishek to come in for the concluding remarks. And also, Abhishek, whilst we were doing the concluding remarks, the audience has realized that there is a potential of still asking questions. So there is a question which is directed to you as well. But first, I'd like you to have an official concluding remark, and then I'll direct the question, not just to you, but if it makes valid sense to all our panelists, I'll get a view from all. Over to you, Abhishek.
Sure. So I think, as everybody else said, it's also a learning session for us. I think just as I gaze into the future, to my mind, banking has always had one challenge, which has been the KYC part of it in terms of identification of customer. And I think the moment we are now opening up video KYC, the amount of analytics and AI that we can now look at image identification and use Tesseract from Google or something else, I think it's just going to explode the way we are going to use AI from a prudential lending norm perspective and a customer identification perspective. So I think it's a very exciting times. The amount of data, the amount of features that we are going to experience on the financial services side of it is going to explode, and can't wait for tomorrow.
Sure. So Abhishek, there is a delegate called Pratik Khatyal who asked that, can you share some insights on data analytics can be used for getting credit worthiness of a person who has no bureau presence?
Yeah, this is actually right up my alley. So look, I think Lendingkart solves a problem exactly that. What happens is a lot of the lenders today look at previous financial year data, ITR returns, bureau information, which looks at repayment trends, etc. What we realized very early in the game was that while these are good pointers, they are not really factoring into account the recency of what's happening on the customer's account, right? So what we did was we started looking at bank statement based analysis, which is really a cash flow understanding of what's happening in the customer's account. And what we have now realized is over a period of 5 years, almost 2/3 of my model is governed by what I'll see in the bank statement analysis. And that kind of takes care of whether or not a customer has, bureau information or thin file with the bureau, etc. Everybody has a bank statement today. And the moment I'm able to analyze, various credits and debits happening, what are the kind of check bounces that are happening, and so on and so forth, it just opens up, decisioning to the new to credit customers big time. And Lendingkart has solved that problem, and we are continuing to do that. In fact, we are now taking this entire IP to the market. We are allowing other lenders to use it. And really the vision is to create a B2B2C environment where almost every single SME in the country, we would be able to, score and evaluate credit worthiness of. Hope that answers your question, Mama.
Sure. I'm sure Mr. Katyal would be happy with that answer. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Well, with this, I know we are extended a little bit on our time, but thank you to our incredible panel because we value every minute you've given us, and we would not like to extend it more further than what you have today. So once again, a big thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.